As the sun sets, casting long shadows over the ground, Jesus gathers his listeners in a circle around him. He's about to share a parable that is recorded in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 18, starting at verse 1. The air is filled with the anticipation of those seated, eager to hear his teachings. Jesus begins, "In a certain town there was a judge who neither feared God nor cared about men." His voice carries clearly, painting the image of a judge known for his indifference and lack of empathy, setting the stage for a tale of persistence against injustice. And there was a widow in that town who kept coming to him with the plea, "Grant me justice against my adversary." Jesus' depiction of the widow is vivid and powerful. The listeners can almost see her, a figure of vulnerability yet imbued with an unyielding spirit, approaching the formidable judge time and again. For some time he refused. Jesus continues, his narrative drawing the crowd deeper into the scene. The judge's initial dismissal of the widow's pleas highlights his cold detachment, but the widow's persistence begins to stand out as her defining trait. But finally, he said to himself, "Even though I don't fear God or care about men, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, I will see that she gets justice so that she won't eventually come and attack me." Jesus delivers the judge's inner monologue with a tone that suggests a grudging respect for the widow's tenacity. The crowd listens, captivated by the turn of events, as the judge's decision to act is driven not by moral conviction, but by a desire to be rid of the widow's persistent demands. Jesus uses this moment to teach about the power of persistence in prayer and the nature of divine justice, contrasting the unjust judge with a just God. "Listen to what the unjust judge says," he tells the crowd, urging them to see the deeper lesson in the judge's capitulation. The introduction of the parable sets up a compelling exploration of perseverance, justice, and the character of God, inviting the listeners to reflect on their own approaches to adversity and prayer. As the evening deepens, the faces around Jesus glow with the light of hanging lanterns, and the audience leans closer, not wanting to miss a word. With the characters established and the conflict presented, Jesus moves to the heart of the parable's message. He says, "And will not God bring about justice for his chosen ones who cry out to him day and night? Will he keep putting them off?" The rhetorical questions posed by Jesus resonate with his listeners, prompting them to compare the actions of the unjust judge with the nature of God. Unlike the judge, God is portrayed as just and compassionate, eager to respond to those he loves. "I tell you, he will see that they get justice, and quickly." Jesus' assurance of God's swift response to prayer provides comfort and encouragement to those who feel overlooked or wearied by life's injustices. It's a reminder of the power of persistent faith and the certainty of divine intervention. However, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth? With this final question, Jesus challenges his listeners to examine their own faith. It's not just a question of whether God will act, but whether his people will have the faith to believe in his justice and persist in their prayers despite adversity. As the last words of the parable linger in the cool night air, Jesus takes a moment to look at the faces surrounding him, each reflecting a mix of contemplation and inspiration. Sensing the deep impact of his message, he decides to draw yet deeper insights from the story, guiding his listeners to apply these lessons in their daily lives. "Think about the widow," Jesus begins, his voice gentle yet compelling. Her situation seemed desperate, and the odds were against her. Yet she did not give up. She continued to confront the judge, believing that persistence could lead to a breakthrough. The crowd nods, understanding the metaphor for their own struggles and prayers. Jesus connects this persistence to their spiritual walk. In the same way, you must persist in your faith, not just when times are good, but especially in hardship. Faith is not passive. It's active and engaging. It demands your involvement and your voice, just like the widow. He then shifts focus to the broader community, emphasizing the importance of acting justly and responding to others in need. Let the judge in the parable remind you also not to become hardened or indifferent to the suffering around you. You are called not only to seek justice, but to act justly, mirroring God's love and compassion in your interactions. Jesus concludes, "So let your faith be known by your actions. Be persistent in your prayers, but also in your pursuit of righteousness and mercy in your community. Let your life be a testament to the faith you hold, and through your example, may others be inspired to seek and practice justice and compassion." As his words settle, the crowd is left with a renewed understanding of how their faith should manifest in both personal persistence and social responsibility. The lessons of the parable are clear. Faith involves trust in God's timing and active participation in bringing about the kingdom of God on earth.